Hello, everybody. This is Dauda Silva, your co-host of the IQ Central Dialogue. Today, we have another episode, and we have a really good guest here that we have been anticipating to bring on here. And I'm glad that it has been finally being, accomplished. He's here. But before I start, I would just like to, do a brief introduction. Basketball is more than a game. Sometimes it's a dream or it's a pathway, and sometimes it becomes a legacy. And that legacy continues to inspire generations. Today, we're telling a story about passion, resilience, and hope through the Gambia's most meaningful basketball platform, which is the Modou Sarr Memorial Tournament. Joining us today is a man who has been very instrumental in preserving that legacy and helping grow the game of basketball in the Gambia with his team. But before further ado, we'd love to introduce that guy. Mr. Secka, the floor is yours.
Hey, thanks guys for having me, Dauda. This has been a long time coming. We've talked about it, many times. So I'm really excited to join you guys. Mustafa and Hassan and Roy, really, really excited, man, to be part of this podcast, and hopefully it'll be a good and interesting conversation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're extremely excited to have you here today and really excited to learn from you. And with that, just before we get into the tournament and the legacy behind it, we want to understand the man that's carrying the mission forward. So could you introduce yourself a little bit and just tell us about your journey in basketball and how you got to where you are today?
Well, obviously I was born and raised in the Gambia. I was raised around the Serekunda West area, by Westfield. There's a neighborhood there called Shanghai. So that's where I was born and raised. I went to Ndaos my whole school life, from elementary school all the way through the 12th grade, and then came to the US 2 years after I graduated high school in '03. So, I mean, I've been here for so long now. But my basketball journey started around '93. I just stumbled onto it. I'm sure you guys will be able to relate. In Gambia, we have these things called line houses. So that's where we used to stay, in this apartment. So the one right opposite where I stayed had the TV where you can see the TV from my apartment's window. So there was this one time that I was just looking and saw a basketball game. I've never seen a basketball game before. This was just right after the Dream Team,
Yeah,
kind of
92.
the whole basketball thing. So, and I looked at it and I saw there was a game playing. So I asked them if I can come in and, sit down and watch. The first person I saw was Scottie Pippen. And I was just blown away, man, with the way these guys look. I mean, they're big and tall and, handsome, light skin. I'm like, man, I want to be like that, So, I mean, obviously, Michael was playing too, so I saw Mike, play. So from there, I just fell in love with the game. And then, right when I started, and then, started growing, a little bit taller, and then kind of deviated from soccer and, started playing basketball, so that's how my journey with basketball started. And it's been great. People do it for fun. For me, it was a passion,
Yeah.
That's why I'm still in basketball.
Hmm.
I play with people who now they don't care about basketball anymore, because it was
Hmm.
just fun for them. They were just doing it just to kill time. But for
Hmm.
me, it was just more than just a game to me. I
Hmm.
started looking into, what basketball was all about. And I'm not sure if you guys are old enough to remember the 1998-1999 NBA season lockout.
Hmm.
They were negotiating the CBAs. That's when I started looking into the other side of basketball, which is the business aspect of it,
Hmm.
and how much players get paid, and what is the relationship between the team owners and the players, the GMs, agents, and all of these kind of things. And that just got me started, into just being so focused on the other side of basketball that most people don't look at. So
Hmm.
hopefully we can get more into that, because that's really one of my passions, just talking about the business of basketball.
Yep.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know Dowda has a couple questions lined up. Just one point to say on what you said. the dream is free, but the grind is sold separate, which is kind of what you just described right now. So, Dauda, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just trying to talk about the passion that he has for sport, and that's how we actually met. We met just because of, the passion for sport. We met through his brother, and then he just, had, share contacts. We started talking about basketball, and then from there, the relationship, grew way
Group.
bigger and stronger. So I for sure understand and know how much he loves basketball. It's beyond just playing the game, just the business aspect of it, the psychology, the emotional side of it too. So that actually brings me to the next question. When did you realize that basketball could mean more than a game? Like it can literally create a lot of opportunities.
Well, just like I said, when I became laser focused on basketball, so when I was younger, when I used to watch basketball, I used to have a notebook that I'll be writing notes on. You know,
Mm.
the teams, all the team players, their heights, their weights, what colleges they went to, and all of these kind of things. I had a full notebook, that's full of just basketball facts, and stuff. I was a little crazy, trust me. And if you come to my room, it was just full of posters. People don't have posters nowadays,
Yeah.
but it was just crazy. So this was the time that I started, knowing that there's more to the game than just playing it. And then I started watching college basketball and started seeing some of these African names there. People like Mata Njai from Senegal playing at UNC, Suleiman Wan playing at, UConn. I mean, Ansu Cisse, playing at Ole Miss. I mean, these are old guys. Trust me, you guys may not even know these guys, but this was back in the 90s. When I saw these things, I'm like, there's more to this thing. That there could be opportunities for us.
Mhm.
And then I started seeing some of our players started coming to the States, and getting scholarships, playing in the States. People like the likes of Per Jallo back in the day, the like of Sehu Jassi, Pichor, and then Modou Sarr got an opportunity also. He came, and I mean, just the fact that you can get education just by playing basketball was something so enticing to me. I never got that opportunity, but I felt like I got it because the guy that I used to play with, the guy that, was everything to me, got that opportunity, and I was there with him, supporting him and cheering for him. So to me, I got my dream of playing college basketball through Modou Sarr, you know what I mean? So I mean, it's just amazing, man. Basketball opens a lot of doors. That orange ball, man, it can make you travel all over the world, man. Trust me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's perfect that you kind of mentioned Modou Sarr, because that kind of transitions into that next question, which is, can you tell us the story behind the Memorial Tournament? How it came to be, what exactly, was the catalyst factor into actually kicking it off, and what you guys hope for it to grow into?
Well, the Modou Sarr basketball tournament started, I think, sometime around 2005, 2006. This was an idea from a guy named Andrew Jata, Pikin. That's how we call him. So it was him and my older brother, Abdullah Secka.
Okay.
So they came up with this idea after Modou passed away in 2004. So when they were doing his memorial the year after or so, that's when they came up with the idea. And they told me about it. I'm like, man, I'm in. Whatever you guys need, just let me know. So that time was played from out west. So when it's about to come up, they'll let me know, what I will send them to fix the court, paint it, fix the rims and all of those kind of things. And that's how it started. It's the longest going basketball tournament in the history of the Gambia right now.
Mm-hmm.
There were some years where we stopped. This was when my elder brother passed away. So we kind of stopped a little bit, but then about 5-6 years ago, that's when we started, wanting to bring it back. Me and a friend of mine in Texas, started talking about it. And then, at this time I was disconnected with Gambian basketball. The only person that I knew at that time was Jim, because I saw him in a program where, he was talking about his Hope Academy thing. So I reached out to him, and I used to contribute to this radio program back in the day where I invited him. So he came and talked about basketball. So then I spoke to my younger brother. I'm like, we want to do this, but I'm not sure who to reach out to. And that's when he told me that I work with this guy, Dauda Silva, that, he plays basketball. I'm like, okay,
Nice.
so just give his number. So that's when I reached out to Dauda, and then Dauda just gave me all these other numbers, all the teams, So
Nice.
I found, the YMCA guys, folks from Serekunda West, Serekunda East, everyone. So I contacted them all, and then we did the basketball tournament in 2020, I believe, Dauda. It was 2020 or 2021.
It was in 2021, but it was in January, actually. It was in January.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So we did that, and then we did something really great. That was the first time that we had a live televised basketball game in the history of Gambia. People were watching it live.
Nice.
The media, and then we had cameras, all over the place. I don't know how it was, for the players. Maybe Dauda can tell me, but for me, just being outside, I think it was really, really exciting. But we just do this to help the players, and just give them the little exposure that they need, at the same time to trying to honor the legacy of Pa Modou, because Pa Modou, was just a guy that was all about basketball. You know what I mean? It was unfortunate that he had to pass away for us to do this kind of thing, but I mean, something needed to be done, and that is just how it started, for us. But it's been great, and now we have transitioned now to high schools now because of some issues that we had with the GBA, during the whole time. We just decided that it was just too much headache. Let's just transition to the high schools, and I think that was the best decision that we've ever made, because talking about grassroots, that's where you start. You know what I mean? And these past 3 years that we've done the high school tournament, it's just been great. We've introduced a lot of kids to the game. Hopefully some of them will become stars one day and will be like, what? I started playing because of the Modou Sarr basketball tournaments and things like that. It's a great honor, just to be mentioned, in those kind of conversations.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Speaking of grassroots level, actually, as a player, I used to hear about the Modou Sarr tournament before it was, stopped or put on pause. But I was like, I really want to participate in something like this, because when it was happening back in the days, I did not play basketball. I did not know a lot about it, but I've heard that it's a really good tournament. So lucky enough, we connected, and then you guys had the chance to organize it in 2021. If you can see on my basketball profile on Instagram, my page profile is like the video that I participated in Modou Sarr is still up there. And believe it or not, when I started reaching out to coaches, reaching out to people, that was one of the videos that I sent, and people were really impressed by how I was playing in those tournaments. So talking about grassroots, talking about creating the platform, it has created so many opportunities, and I, for one, have benefited from it. So Modou Sarr tournament has been something really huge, and I'm glad that now that it is in high school, actually we have kids that have been participating there. We had Jamoran, that is Musa Diata, and then we have Mukhtar, we have some other kids out there, the MVP from the last one too. But just saying this is like it is creating a lot of impact in our basketball community. But I would just want to hear more on the organizing committee side of it. What impact that Pa Modou Sarr passing has created for the basketball community in the Gambia?
I mean, yeah, just like I said, I mean, it's just been it's just been a force, and something that we are really hoping to continue to do, barring any obstacles, from the GBA, and these are people that we really want to work with, a lot. But and I'm not here to bash them or anything like that, but they've just made it very, very hard on us. Even when we transitioned to high school, I got a message from one of the GBA members that, do you know that the high school basketball is still under our purview? It sounded like a threat that, even though you guys have moved on from the GBA teams, Now you are into high schools. Do you know that we still control high schools? I'm like, if you still control high schools, go ahead and organize a high school basketball thing for the kids.
Tournament. Mm-hmm.
That's all that we're trying to do. We are just trying to give them, the chance to play in high school. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, it's just been great. I work with a great team. Like I may be the one that's out there all the time, showing my face, and stuff, but I have a great team, that's working behind me. Somebody like Omar Savage, Savage has just been instrumental through the whole thing. I have Modou Sarr's cousin, that's in the background also, Ajifatu. She works really hard on this, Ahmad Bite and my younger brother Pamudu, Keba Fall, all of these guys are the ones. Yeah, Keba Fall, man, that guy, man, he's all over. Oh man,
That's what's up. That's what's up. I'm glad that you mentioned that about the GBA because again, we're not here to bash them, but we need to have higher level conversations about what is done structurally in Gambia and how we can approach that in a way that can sustain future growth and future improvements. And this kind of leads to the next topic that I kind of want to focus on, which is the tournament is now geared to develop young players, right? But stepping back, I feel that we have to ask an honest question about Gambian basketball, which is what is the honest reality of Gambian basketball today? That's one part of the question. The second part of the question, in terms of opportunity, one of the things I've said on this podcast before, and Dawda and Mustafa know what I'm about to say, Africa only pushes out big men. Gambia pushes out bigs, Senegal pushes out bigs. Why is that a thing? I don't understand why we can't push out more guards, considering just genetic ability. We're always in shape. Senegal is known to be a fitness first country. Gambia, you go to the beach, you see people working out. I just don't understand at a grassroots level why our guards can't get pushed out the way our bigs can get pushed out. And what does that have to do with the current reality of Gambian basketball? How can we change that, in your opinion?
Well, let's start with the one that you talked about, us just pushing out bigs only. I mean, that's been the tradition, if you look at the Akeem Olajuwons, the Mutombos, back in the 90s, that's how it was, just like kind of blocking shots. But I mean, if you like basketball is, and you guys know this more than I do, because you guys have played it at a much higher level, especially now. Teams are looking to fill a role.
Yeah,
that's all that they're trying to do. You can be the best. Like most NBA players, the biggest problem they have coming into the league is having to transition, to a role that they are not used to. Elder can be the best high school player, you know what I mean? But then he goes to college. They want you to be a defensive specialist. That was not Dowda's thing. He was good at defense, but now this is all they want from you. The game is going down the line. Dowda, I want you to go in and stop the best player, on that other team. You know what I mean? So, coming back to Africa, our guards, and all of those kind of things. Well, right now, it's about size. I mean, these scouts and these NBA GMs are not coming to Africa
for 6'1" guards.
For 6'1" guards. Even if you are in the US, being a 6'1" guard, you have to be really, really good, just like Trae Young, to be able to make it. The game has changed a lot. You see all these wings nowadays.
6, 7 wings. Yeah.
It started happening back in the 90s. When guys like T Mac, came on. And all of those kind of things. But now it's so prevalent nowadays. And in Africa, especially in Gambia, the moment you are 6'4", you're a big man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just develop big man skills.
Oh, I see.
So, I mean, your game is not well-rounded. You know what I mean? And you're just 6'4". And 6'4" is like in the NBA, that's a point guard.
Yeah.
So you have those point guard skills. These are the things that our players really need to think about. Your game has to be well-rounded. I was just speaking to one of the kids the other day on Instagram. I think his name is Ensa Drame. he was telling me that, his favorite player is Giannis. I'm like, yeah, it's good. You can start playing like Giannis, because basketball is a copycat game. We all know that.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to invent anything new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can copy Giannis all you want, but at the same time too, I want you to copy Kyrie, his ball handling skills. I want you to copy Klay Thompson or Steph Curry in the way that they shoot, how they create the space, you know what I mean?
Running off screens.
And all of those kind of things. You have to be a well-rounded person. So I think this is one of the disadvantages that our players have. They are just, one-dimensional only. The coach said that you are the big man, so your whole game is about how can I be a better big man? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But then when you transition outside, it's different. You know what I mean? That's why I think it's going to be hard for our players, to kind of make it outside of the Gambia, But I think there's still potential. There's still a lot of them, nowadays that are multidimensional. If you look at players like Isamba, Paquet, these guys are 6'4", 6'5", you know what I mean? But they play inside and outside, you know what I mean? So I think those are some of the things that our coaches need to be a little bit more focused on. Our GBA, really needs to promote, and just give these kids time, like more playing time. You know what I mean? It's not just the league only. Summertime is here. Create tournaments all over the place. Let them play year round. That's what basketball is all about, man. You got to be playing year round. All these players that you're seeing today, KD, LeBron, and all of these players, they played year round since they were 12 years old. You know what I mean? That's why they got to the level to where right now. You know what I mean? So we really need more tournaments. We really need more competition for these players.
Actually, these tournaments that you're talking about is really important, because if you think about everything, you said it by yourself. Like, you come to the US, we have professionals that have been playing since they were 12 years old. We're talking about people that are in high school. As soon as the season is over, they're into March playing AAU tournaments. And these AAU tournaments, you have practice, you have weekend games. Each day you're playing 3 games. I know it's a lot, but I'm just saying, compared to, people are complaining that it's a lot for these kids. But look at us when it comes to the Gambia. We have tournaments that are played only once a year, or the GBA tournament would not even happen for a whole year because of what? Lack of fun. But when people want to step in and organize tournament, that becomes an issue. So it's really important that you talked about it, and you also highlighted the difference between the United States and in the Gambia. Growing up, I have the opportunity to compete in the Gambia and then coming out here and then compete, and even internationally outside of the Gambia. So before talking about America, we do have people that, are in Senegal having the same opportunity that we are supposed to have, but just because of the networking and the structure, it's not in place in the Gambia. That's why we cannot have it. So I believe that in order for people to start believing in what we have going on, start creating opportunities like this where kids can have opportunities or platform to always compete continuously, like a year long. So, like, just saying that brings me to this question. What is the biggest difference between, or what are the biggest difference between the United States basketball community or the basketball structure system and the Gambia?
Well,
big question.
Before I even get to that, like, I don't like comparing the US and the Gambia. It's like comparing apples and oranges. You know what I mean? It's just not even close. You know what I mean? So the closest comparison I would like to do is Gambia and Senegal. I mean, these are our neighbors, man. These are people that look just like me and you. You know what I mean? These are people that speak the same language like me and you. We eat the same food. We are pretty much the same people. You know what I mean? So if Senegal can do this, I mean, like, they just announced their, how to call it, players.
Their team, the list for the World Cup qualifiers.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So, and none of those players are playing in Senegal. Okay. So what I have always talked to the GBA about, and some of the people that will listen to me, is that, look, we are not in anybody's basketball radar. Gambia is not known for basketball. Okay, so there's no need to rush. We don't need to rush anything right now. Let's look at what Senegal is doing. Let's send a delegation to Senegal. Let's ask some Senegalese coaches or Senegalese officials to come to the Gambia. Let's sit down with them. Let's talk to them. You know what I mean? Like I said before, basketball is a copycat game. We can copy what Senegal is doing. I mean, I can light your candle without my candle, like kind of going off. You know what I mean? Senegal can help us in a way that, it's not going to take anything away from them. You know what I mean? But it's not just the Senegalese Federation only. We got Seeds Academy that's in Senegal. We got NBA
Academy
in Senegal. The BAL is headquartered in Senegal. So Senegal is like this big hub in African basketball, and it's just right there. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just 4.5 hours, 5 hours drive from like how to go Gambia. If you want to take a flight, it's just 30 minutes flight or even less than that. You know what I mean? So, and you have all these scouts coming to Senegal every single time. There's no time that you go to Senegal and there are no scouts there. They're either at Seeds or NBA Academy or they're at the BAL, So these scouts come to Senegal. They're just 30 minutes flight away from Gambia. You know what I mean? But they don't come because they don't know about Gambia. Because we haven't had the structure for them to know about us. You know what I mean? So what do we need to do? That is the question. What is it that we need to do that when these scouts come to Senegal, they can, take a day and come to Gambia? You know what I mean? Speak to the GBA. The GBA can organize some sort of clinic or something like that. They can see our players. Our players need that visibility. I mean, you have really good players in Gambia. Somebody like Gorgui Sow. I look at Gorgui, I'm like, man, any day that this guy sits in Gambia, he's wasting. You know what I mean? The kid has talent. The kid can play. All he needs is just like a good coach, a good structure where he can just develop, and he's not the only person. There's just a lot of them out there, man. So we really have to find a way whereby we leverage, some of the things in Senegal, to our
our advantage.
You know what I mean? But then that comes with vision and leadership, and with all due respect, you know what I mean? The GBA president right now does not have that kind of vision. He's not a basketball mind. He's really not. And I don't blame him, or I'm not trying to fault him or anything like that. We need people that really know the technical aspects of the game and be able to speak the language of basketball and be able to speak the language of business as well. Because once you get off the court and you start going into these offices, you know what I mean, and start speaking to these scouts, you gotta learn to speak the language of business that these people can understand. You know what I mean? So I think those are some of the things that we really have to focus on right now as a country, as an organization, because basketball is blowing up. We all know that, especially in Africa. Just look at this BAL, what it's doing. You know what I mean? It's now sort of like a pipeline whereby, African talents, are being recognized, or they're like, it's like a recruiting thing nowadays. You know what I mean? So why not us? Why not us? Why do we always have to lag behind everything? Why does Gambia have to be that? So to me, I mean, this is something that I really want to see some sort of change. And if I have to be involved in that change, I'll be honored to, but those who are in charge right now, I'm just urging them, this is not a criticism or anything like that, but we really need to look at the bigger picture and give our players the exposure that they need. To me, it's all about the players. To me, it's all about the players. I love these players. I talk to almost each and every one of them. You know what I mean? And they all say the same thing. They just want that exposure and they just want that visibility.
No, that was well said. I like how you it's a village. We need a village to make this go forward. And I think the current head of the village right now is maybe not doing the best steps to help us grow or contribute to the grassroots program. And I like how you mentioned the BAL pathway because now African players can look at different cities within Africa and decide, hey, I want to play from home. I don't necessarily have to move to South Korea to play basketball. Like I could play right here and make some money and stuff like that. So on that note, with the BAL, we've had a discussion on the pod a couple of times where we discuss if the BAL is actually being built for Africa or if it's being built for players outside of Africa. And some players who have played in the BAL given us their feedback where they don't feel like the BAL is being built for Africa, and I'll explain. So the current structure with the road to BAL and qualifying and going through, we feel that is built for Africa because a bunch of local teams playing in localized regional tournaments, and then they go off to qualify to make the BAL. The new structure that the NBA is trying to bring is put 12 permanent teams to kind of have what we have in America and have branding and franchising be there. So then, you watch the Cape Town Tigers for 15 years, you want to play in Cape Town when you're an adult, right? The problem with that, though, with permanent franchises goes away with that regional tournament. So less local exposure. You won't see tournaments in Zambia, for example, like you did this past year. And then the second issue with that is a lot of import players start to come in. Now, I know BAL rosters are supposed to be like 60 or 70% players from that specific country. But when you start having franchisees and stuff like this, you then want to recruit players from other parts of the world, to come in and become the top 5 players in the league, which kind of takes away from the whole point. What's your take on the BAL currently? Do you feel it's being built for Africa, or do you feel it's built for entertainment and overseas? Now, before you answer, we're gonna hop on a new link, and then I'll re-ask you like the end part of the question, and then you can answer because this link is about to expire in like 10 seconds. So we're gonna cut off what I just said, but I'll just leave it at the question when we start the new one.
I've sent
Okay,
I've sent it to your WhatsApp so you can access it and just connect again.
okay, perfect. All right, we'll hop on there now. Okay, see you guys there in a second.
All right.
And we discussed about the BAL, and essentially the question that we wanted to get is the BAL being built for Africa or is it built for overseas? And the prior structure with the BAL, they had this thing called the Road to BAL, where localized tournaments would happen between, qualifying teams, and then whoever won in their local leagues was automatically qualified, and then in these regional tournaments, they would have all these teams from different countries to play. The benefits of those regional tournaments is that local fans in African markets that weren't targeted would be able to watch live professional basketball at a high level. Think of Zambia hosting one of those regional windows in December or November of last year, sometime around there. And a lot of Zambian fans were exposed to high level basketball. So that type of stuff starts to die down when we have permanent franchises, because then we're not able to showcase the game and grow the game in that level. And then second, because it's now franchised, a lot of teams want their team's legacy to grow, i.e., 5-time champions or 6-time champions or whatever. So in order to do that, you're going to likely recruit out of country or out of continent talent to come in there. And my fear is the BAL may start to have more foreigners take all the big awards. Now, when the BAL first started, the first 2 years, both MVPs were not African. One MVP, I think he was of Latin or Spanish descent. I can't remember exactly what country, one of those like Afro-Latino countries. And then the second MVP was an American. The last 3 years, it's been an African who took it home. I think 2 South Sudanese and then Wasi last season. So with this new structural change coming, I feel it may be being built for overseas because we're going to bring essentially the guys that can't make the EuroLeague or can't make the NBA, and then they get promoted into stars. But I don't know what that does for local African talent who's going to be fighting to get onto these 12 franchisee teams and see what they can do. So what's your take on the new structural changes with the BAL? Do you feel it is being built for Africa? And what would you change, if anything?
Well, I would say that, competition, is good. Everybody needs to be challenged, whether you're an African or not, so with the context of the BAL, if it is just for African players, I feel like, the competition will not the competition would be there, of course, because we are very, very competitive. You know what I mean? But then this is sports. You cannot just be like, it's only for Africa only.
Got you.
If the NBA operated that way, then there will be no foreigners playing. It would just be just Americans only. You know what I mean? But basketball is a global sport. I think just like you said, there has to be some sort of restriction or something like that, whereby, let's say, out of the 12 players, 8 have to be from Africa or something like that. You can only have 3 or 4 foreign-born players, or those kind of things. But I mean, it all comes down to economics. It's all about the money. You know what I mean? And when you talk about the expansion, or the franchises, that they're trying to, implement that. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it with the valuations that they have right now of $50 million for, an entry fee.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be really, really tough. But
that's deep.
I trust the guys at the BAL, Amadou and his team. They are professionals at what they do. So they may have done the math, and, that's the number that they came up with. But I feel like, it cannot just be limited just to African players only. But at the same time, too, just like you said, some of the best players in the past few years or so have not been African. I think that's a little concerning. But then also with this franchise thing, you also made a good point whereby, you mentioned the fact that, you want like how to call it, 3 or 5 times, champions, and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Which is good. But I just kind of feel like with the BAL right now and where it is, they're not in a profit making phase right now. They're just trying to set it up right now. So what they're trying to do is, I mean, running a basketball league is expensive. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
The BAL and the NBA, they don't share their numbers. But according to a 2024 Bloomberg report, the BAL was bringing a revenue of 15 million, but it was spending 19.
I see.
So they're at a loss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So trying to create these franchises is mostly to offset
that
those
price. Yep.
And then, transfer those to the teams, So the BAL's operating costs will go down whilst they, move all those other expenses, to the teams. So I see that part of it. It makes sense, if they want to continue. But with the way they are structured right now, I really don't see the BAL, putting those kind of limitations, on itself and those kind of things, because they really need the viewership right now. They really need the buy-in for the fans, and all of these kind of things. But it's not going to be easy for them, man. I mean, basketball is competing with soccer, and in Africa, nothing competes.
In Africa, soccer is king. In Africa, it's not even close.
So it's not going to be easy.
But I like how you brought it back to the conversation of business and the economics of the game, right? Because we do understand running a basketball league is expensive, but I don't think people really put it into context. Now, just to clarify a couple of points, the first 2 MVPs of the BAL were not African. The last 3 have been. But my fear is that in future, with the franchising model, because teams are going to be so focused on getting that viewership, they're going to need to become repeat champions. Like, why do we care about the Lakers and Celtics? And the Knicks are a big name, but everyone always laughs because they haven't won in forever, and for everyone from New York, I apologize, but it's the truth, So I feel when you then put that into perspective and look at where the BAL could go, if you can get who's the best African, who's one of Pascal Siakam. If Pascal Siakam is 39 years old and comes back and plays on the Cameroon edition team of the BAL, people are going to go crazy, right? But that's not really moving the needle for a localized player who has been working since he was 5 years old to try to make that same team. So that's just my fear. But I like how you made a really good point that I didn't consider. All of this is to grow the viewership and then also offset the current economic costs. So I think that's a completely different conversation from us just saying it's not built for Africa or it is built for Africa. This is completely different. We just make the money make sense whilst also growing the game so people can care more. And then hopefully, we can have that transcendent change that you, me, Dauda, Mr. Rahi, all of us want.
Yeah.
Dauda, go ahead.
Yeah,
That was like one of the main reasons why in the inaugural season, they brought J. Cole.
Yes.
I mean, J.
Yes.
Cole has all this following, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I think that was one of the best moves that they made,
Yeah.
and I think, that's something that really needs to continue, whereby since they're in this building phase right now, right now it's not about the money, just bring influencers, bring people that, have viewership and just put them, in the forefront, like a halftime show, or something like that, whereby people will be interested. And
Agreed.
it's something that Gambia really needs to do also. I mean, I have a lot of ideas on what we can do,
Yeah, we have talked about so many stuff. Your ideas are great, and I hope that you have the opportunity to actually implement it. It's really tough. There's a lot of challenges, but I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see some of your ideas, even the stuff that you have here for even the Gambian basketball players that are here in the US to come into vision. Actually, talking about the BAL actually brought some memories about when I was in the Gambia, and then we talked about the Giants of Africa. The founder is Masai Ujiri, and before this BAL and all of those stuff, there was, the Giants of Africa, where a lot of famous NBA players that are from Africa.
Indeed.
First of all, we'll say Gorgui Dieng. I know a lot of people forget about Gorgui Dieng.
Yeah, big dog.
But before, Gorgui Dieng was in the Minnesota Timberwolves, he was a camper. He went to this camp and then participated in the Giants of Africa camp. Then we have the likes of, Pascal Siakam, Joel Embiid, and many more. We have pressures from Nigeria that benefited from this. And till this day, we have people in the, NCAA Division I that benefited from them. But if you think about it, we have players from Senegal that have benefited from it, went to these camp, even Borders of Africa camp. But we have never had Gambians, Gambian-based players that are in the Gambia that get the chance to be invited. I've reached out when I was in the Gambia. I've sent so many emails, DMs on Facebook, Instagram, but it's just that we don't have that representation for Gambian basketball players to be able to be presented, like, oh, this is Gorgui, this is, Mokhtar, this is Mustafa Toure. We need him to be in this type of situation or this camp. Now we're having the FIBA camps where we have some of these players that we, Fanta went there. Tita has the opportunity to be there too. We had Isamba went there, Mustafa, part of the MVP. This is amazing. But we cannot just limit it to one because we don't have only 2-3 players out of each year going out. We need more than 2 players going out to different camps. So what has been our biggest challenge as Gambian, basketball community? Is it mindset? Is it funding? Is it network? What do you think is actually holding us back? Because this is something that we're talking about the past 10 years, and still we're seeing, 1% of progress. But if we want to move drastically and move fast as a nation, especially for the Afro basketball qualifiers, World Cups, what can we do? Or what is the biggest challenge right now?
Well, I mean, man, I don't even know where to start.
When he asked that question, I thought I was like, man, you put Mr. Secka on the spot because
no, I know, like Dauda is the best person to, speak on this, because he's been on both sides, what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but okay, number one is this. We have to stop treating basketball as a recreation only.
Thank you.
Basketball is a business, you know what I mean? And we have to have that business mindset. And when I say we, is the people at the top, you know what I mean? And we have to find ways to find funding. Funding is critical. Okay, Dauda mentioned Masai Ujiri with the Giants of Africa, you know what I mean? And Masai, one thing that he did that I really like, I don't know whether you guys remember this. It was the 2016, I think, All-Star game
in Toronto. I was there.
Yeah.
I was in because I live in Toronto, so I was around. Yeah.
Okay, so you will know this. So Masai invited the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame.
Yeah.
So Paul Kagame came. Kagame doesn't know anything about basketball. He has no clue what basketball is. You know what I mean? But Masai has this vision. So he invited him to come. Kagame was inside the arena. All of a sudden, Paul Kagame, just bow his head down. And Masai thought something was wrong. You know what I mean? He asked him, Mr. President, is everything okay? Are you bored, or are you sick, or what's going on? Kagame just raised his head and be like, how much does it cost to build this whole stadium? You know what I mean? That's where it started. Kagame just saw the vision, and was like, you know what? I can have this in my country. And within a few years, they now have the BK Arena there now.
Yeah.
That's hosting the BAL finals like every year, and they've signed a long-term contract with the BAL.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So coming back to Gambia, look, in Africa, governments are the ones that sponsor basketball. You know what I mean? Our businesses don't have what it takes to be able to sponsor and expect an ROI.
Yeah.
Basketball does not bring anything, especially basketball back home.
Mm-hmm.
So my suggestion is go to the top. Our GBA officials, go and meet President Barrow. Introduce him to the game of basketball. Invite him to one of the games and talk to him and tell him what these are our challenges. Don't go through the Minister of Sports or the Sports Council, GNOC. I mean, that's just a whole bunch of bureaucracy. You know what I mean? Go to the head honcho, speak to him, and tell him these are some of the things that we are dealing with. But you got to make a business case for it, though. You have to make a business case. And do our people know how to make a business case, for President Barrow to be able to see this? It's election season. You know what I mean? These guys, they want to get elected. You have these young people who are playing basketball. They are all 18 and over now. They can all go. You know what I mean? So find a way that you can tie that into the conversation and sell it to him. You know what I mean? And show him the examples that, the examples of Paul Kagame, and all these other examples. Look at what Senegal is doing. Senegal is now a basketball hub.
Exactly.
Sell it to him in such a way that he is able to see it and be like, whoa, this is a sector that we have really ignored.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe at the bare minimum, I can just build them an indoor
court,
stadium.
Something.
You know what I mean? And this is something that I spoke to with some of the coaches when they won the under 21 basketball tournament in like Guinea-Bissau, and all. I'm like, dude, when you guys get home, don't ask for anything. Ask for indoor court. You don't need, for them to give you money. No. Ask for indoor court.
Yeah.
That's what you need. I spoke to all the coaches that went there, So these are the things that we need. You know what I mean? Go and get the funding. And also funding. Like talking about funding, we have the diaspora.
Go and get the funding. Absolutely.
The last numbers that I know about was during COVID, that the diaspora sent close to $700 million
back to Gambia.
And this was 2021. How much is it now? How much of that money is going towards basketball? Probably zero. You know what I mean? But you have diasporans like you and me over here. I mean, we may not have a lot, but when it comes to basketball, man, we will give until, I mean, we will give, we will give. And that's a lot of us. That's a lot of us. So you need to tap into it. But there's this one thing about Gambia that we have to say. There's this love and hate relationship between the Gambia and the diaspora.
100%.
They want our money, but they don't want to hear our opinions.
Yes.
But we have to work together. We have to work together. Just like Dauda said, the conversation that you guys had with Waka, and this is something I've talked to Dauda a lot about, whereby we have like some sort of clinic, like a weekend clinic, whereby we gather all the basketball players here in the United States. I mean, we have a lot of, we can have a whole team just in the US only.
Yeah.
In the US only, we have a whole team. You know what I mean? The thing that I told the GBA was, look, I don't need money from you. I don't need a diplomatic passport. I don't need none of that stuff. All I need is designate me as some sort of basketball ambassador that I can have the credentials. When I go to these schools, I can talk to, the relevant people, at least they will give me, that attention that we can start speaking to these schools, we can start going to these parents, we can start speaking to the players themselves that this is what we're trying to do in the Gambia, and we're just getting started. Do we have your buy-in? And I actually did this. I went to Western Washington.
Oh, nice.
Here, it's just an hour away from me. At that time, there were 4 Gambian players.
Isn't that Janko's school?
Yep.
Janko was there at that time.
Yeah.
Janko, BJ Coley was there.
Oh, okay.
Sen was there.
Oh, nice.
I went there. I spoke to these kids, and I'm like, look, are you guys ready to represent Gambia? They said, yes, we are. So I went back to the GBA, never heard back anything.
I see.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Even 2 years ago, we had talked to Omar Thielmans, or last year, sorry. We had spoken to him as well, and he was also excited to go and represent Gambia. But, similarly, because of all these structural issues and whatnot, sometimes you have to take other situations. We have a teammate as well, FJ. She's representing Guinea right now, but she would love to play for Gambia. But it all goes back to that. It all goes back to
that. That hurts me a lot. That really did. When I heard her story, I'm like, man, are you kidding me, man? I mean,
actually, what you're talking about is exactly what Matar Ndiaye does. He's an alumni for Senegalese basketball. Now, what he does is go in, talk to these people in the United States, get these players here, link them with the federation in Senegal. They get the chance. I mean, even his son, he plays. I remember I was in a webinar where it was Joko Hub. It's just sort of like what we're doing right now. It's just a bunch of basketball players that are from Senegal that they make it professionally, linking each and every one of these Senegalese together. And this is exactly what you are talking about. And I hope that platform is being given to you, and then that's going to be beneficial for us, honestly speaking.
And that's just the US, like we're talking about Europe, we're talking about Asia. There's just a lot of them out there. Like you go to Europe right now, give that designation, give that designation to Jim. Jim is passionate about the game. Jim can find you at least 2 or 3 kids that are playing in Europe that can represent.
Right now.
You go to the Middle East, you go to Asia, you go everywhere around the world. There are kids there that will be more than happy to, represent Gambia. Because, I mean, let's just face it. Every athlete wants
to play for the country,
internationally, no matter what you're doing. And let's face it also. I mean, most of the kids playing here, what are the likelihoods of them representing the US? It's very slim.
It's very slim.
Very slim. Even Team Canada. It's really like at this point now, if you want to make any of these leagues, you have to be a leaguer. You have to be in the NBA or a high-level D1 player, because even they don't get picked up. So I agree with you. Like, international representation is the thing. But when I look at some of these other teams, like even on Sweden, I'm forgetting his name right now, but there's a Gambian guy on Sweden, Melvin, nasty, crazy versatile guard, and he's one of the top guards in Euro Cup. And it's like, imagine we had him and all the players we just named. There's no way we're not a strong team in any of these FIBA regional competitions. So. I completely agree with you, and I love to hear that. And it kind of brings us back.
But also, sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Like, if you look at the reigning, Euro or the reigning FIBA MVP, Dennis Schroeder, dude. Dennis Schroeder looks just like you and me.
He literally looks just like everybody back home. Absolutely.
Okay? Yeah, his name can be Dennis Schroeder and all of that. You know what I mean? We all know the story.
His name is Keba Sane. He just doesn't know.
So, you know what I mean? So, I mean, just look at his siblings. You have J.S. and Secka. You have, Aminata. His mom is Fatou. These are all Gambian names.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people like that, somebody like Satu Sabali, and let's not forget about female basketball, man.
Mm-hmm.
To me, when it comes to Gambian basketball, as much as I like it, I love watching the girls play.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The girls are amazing because the competition that they bring is just crazy, man. I mean, the best Gambian basketball game I've ever watched was between YMCA girls and Serekunda West girls. It was epic, man. I was all over the place, man.
Did you see that girl who scored 75 a couple weeks back or a couple months ago?
Oh, that was Tita.
Yeah. Did you watch that game?
That's easy. That girl is amazing. Tita is the most accomplished Gambian basketball player. Mm-hmm. She is. If you look at all the championships that she's won, and I'm sure Rohi will agree with me on this, because they play together every day. Tita has won more championships, accolades than anybody in the history of Gambian basketball. And I've been following Gambian basketball for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Girl is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's just really great.
Shout out Tita.
I just think that, you know, this whole conversation, we really have to make sure that we are intentional about including the girls, you know, in this whole thing, because you cannot do anything without women.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They bring the sauce. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
yes.
we have to include them, you know, in this whole thing. And it's not just because of sympathy or anything like that.
Yeah.
They can play. These girls can play.
Yeah. That's why look at Rahi. Rahi has some stuff to say. Rahi, you know,
Nice.
The floor is yours.
No, I've been enjoying the conversation. I've been allowing you guys to talk for a while. I think I was just learning a lot throughout the conversation with Paseng and Hassan talking about the BAL, sorry. So it's really amazing that we're talking about how we can improve the game in the Gambia. When it comes to the GBA, when it comes to the players, the youngsters, like the grassroots, like the Modou Sarr tournament does. I think when I started playing basketball in December 2020, and the Modou Sarr tournament was the first tournament that I played. I was really, really whacked by then, but it was an amazing experience for me. And being in the first tournament that I played, I learned a lot. I got to know a lot of players here in the Gambia, and that's how I got just into the GBA association here in the Gambia. So I feel like when it comes to improving the game here in the Gambia, I think representation matters most. Like Dada said, most of these camps that we go outside is just one person going to represent the whole Gambia, or two people. All the players that went to the NBA, the FIBA camp, the FIBA camp, like Tida, like Maria Bella Mustafa, like Isamba, SMJ, I don't talk to the guys a lot, but the ladies, what they tell me when they come back is like all these other players that come from the other countries, they have their coaches come with them. Like they have their coaches come with them, but the Gambia, you're alone. Like it's just one player. And I don't know why it has to be just one player coming from the Gambia, because it's like that every year. They only choose one female and one male. But when they go to the camp, you have like 5 people from Senegal, like 10 people from Egypt. And I think that's really unfair. And I think that's also because of the structure that we have when it comes to the GBA. So what can we do? I don't think right now, I'm always not talking about the GBA, because it's like just one person or 1 or 2 to 3 people just doing the whole work of the GBA, which is not normal. Like it doesn't have to be like that. So for me, it's like, what can the players in the Gambia do? What can, like Passion said, what can the diaspora do? And I feel like us as players here in the Gambia need to sensitize each other more, because the players here are so relaxed. Like they just want GBA to just come and do stuff for them. Like they're not trying any efforts to do anything, if not for them trying their personal efforts to travel. Like, what are you doing for the Gambia? Because most of the times, yes, you can have the luck to just travel and play for teams outside the Gambia. But if we come collectively and work on something like, okay, let's sign a petition. Let's sign a petition and send it to the GBA. Like, okay, let's sign a petition and have a team, even if it's a team that's just gonna based on that's just gonna be based on players in the diaspora. But the players here are really, really very little relaxed. Like we just train and go back home and complain about the GBA, but we are not doing anything about it. When the GBA calls for a meeting, you barely see a player there. So if these things are happening, they will be like, oh, these people are not serious. So obviously they will do whatever they want to do, and we won't have anything to do about it. Sometimes even when there's a meeting, these coaches don't come, and we have a lot of issues, like a whole lot of issues, not just about the indoor court. Bro, the issues in the GPA, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And right now there's a new stadium that's about to be built in Lemon. When I was playing in Lemon, I started playing in Lemon before I went to West. When I was playing in Lemon, I can remember when they were giving that land for the stadium, they called the Lamen team, that they wanted to build a basketball stadium there. I don't know if the GBA knows about it. I don't know if they're trying to push to get an indoor court there, because there was a particular segment that they were like, oh, this is for the West Coast Basketball Academy. But if the West Coast Basketball Academy has an indoor court, obviously the whole of Gambia will benefit, the whole of the GBA will benefit from it. So I feel like right now we shouldn't be like, oh, GBA is not allowing us to do this or do that. I feel like we should come together, both home base and the diaspora, to even let's just see what we can do. Like, Pastor, you can have an idea. Like, what can we do for the GBA to hear us? Like, oh, we have to do this, and the GBA must listen to us because they're doing this for us. They're working for us. In as much as like we're not literally paying them, but anybody that's doing stuff in the Gambia basketball, you're doing it out of the heart. Like, you're doing it because of the passion. So I believe if we can set if we can do something together, like both home base and diaspora, obviously the GBA will listen to us whether they like it or not. So
form a union, form a players union, whereby you guys are represented.
I can remember Jet Li once said that. Like, one time we were having this debate on the Gambia Trolls WhatsApp group page. Like, it was a really big fight, and Mohammed Danso Jet Li was like, we cannot do anything if we don't have a players union. And I think I think it's high time that we have that, like a players union where
I think we should. And one thing that I would like to say is that, just like you said, Rohi, the GBA is working for you guys. You guys are not working for the GBA. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to speak up. That is the thing that I have seen in Gambian basketball. Most players are afraid to speak up. And I understand their concerns. You don't want to speak up and be excluded, from the team that's going to go to Togo or the team that's going to go to Senegal, because just like we talked about, everybody wants to represent their country, but they don't have the voice. Gambian players don't have the voice. Once they get out, they can talk, but they really need to, be engaged inside and hold the GBA responsible. The GBA is relaxed, just because the players are relaxed too. But, shout out to the GBA members out there who are, putting it out there all the time, working really hard, and making sure that the league is running and all.
Yeah, no, the shared cost of ownership is true. Like, I feel Rahi's point, and you just doubled down on it as well. As much as we can complain about the associations in place, us as the players, the coaches, the organizations also have a shared ownership fee in this relationship. And I think if the players are too lax and relaxed and whatever, there's no way we can make change. One of the things I was telling the group last week is change is inconvenient.
Yes.
For you to actually make change is incredibly inconvenient. You have to agree and accept that inconvenience in the pursuit of this change. So as Rahi mentioned, it's inconvenient to go against the GBA, but that's the only way to change it. So,
You know what though? The first part in solving a problem is, or 50% of solving a problem is realizing you have a problem first.
Yes.
When you realize you have a problem, 50% of it has been solved already. So now it's, going in, putting in the solutions, implementing it and all that.
No, I think you gave some great solutions today, not only on the business front, and you exposed us to a completely different conversation, because most of the conversations we've had up until this podcast has usually been basketball playing. Today, I feel like you really expanded the conversation to discuss the economic infrastructure elements, and then also the overall structural elements from the top to the bottom. Because if our top leaders are relaxed, it will go down to our coaching system and our players and our youth players and our grassroots program. So I think you really made the whole Gambian basketball issue and solution very digestible, for the viewers here.
Yeah, but one thing that I really want us to focus on, as a country, I mean, let's try to build our league into a pipeline.
Yes, sir.
Try to build our league into a pipeline whereby our players can have opportunities to play outside.
Yes, sir.
We have to develop these players. These players have to be developed. We have to have good facilities. We have to have good coaching. And like I said, the girls have to be involved. These three things are really, really important. And then in the medium term or in the long term, I mean, Dennis Schroeder, Satu Sabali.
We need them.
these are two people. They may not be ready right now. They're in the middle of their careers right now. They may not be ready to deal with us, but then we have to create a pipeline whereby we leverage these relationships, with Dennis Schroeder and Satu Sabali, because they can be instrumental in helping Gambian basketball. You know what I mean? So, and then when it comes to things like fundraising and those kind of things, there are Gambians out there. Shout out to my guy Mo Samba. Mo Samba works with the BAL, helps them in all their fundraising activities. I plead with him all the time. Mo, can you do something for Gambia? Blah blah. He's like, Gambia is not ready. Those guys are not ready. You know what I mean? But just to say, there are so many people out there who have the expertise and who have the passion, to help us. But you know what I mean? We have to help ourselves first. We really have to help ourselves first. You know what I mean? So,
Agreed.
And I'm really hopeful. I'm hoping that we can continue these kind of conversations, to make, we at least build some sort of momentum whereby, the thinking of the people can start changing, and then, we can start making meaningful change.
Yeah.
I
would love to ask a quick question, because it's really important that we talked about all of this, but I just want to bring it back to Modou Sarr tournament, because this is a tournament where you have the power, where you can make decisions. What legacy do you hope to bring in, or to just keep there in the Gambian community with basketball, right now and in the future?
I mean, the Modou Sarr basketball tournament is just a tournament. It's just an event that just happens and goes away. You know what I mean? The league, that's our system. So the tournament itself, we do everything that we can. Just listen to what Rohi just said. That was the first ever tournament that she ever played. You know what I mean? So hearing those kind of stories, it just makes me really happy. You know what I mean? But what we are doing right now with the high school, basketball thing, and I'm hoping that there will be other people who will also be organizing high school basketball tournaments as well. If you look at this kid, man, can you imagine Dauda? I don't know when you started playing, but if you were to start playing at the age of 6, you know what I mean? By the time you turn 18, can you imagine how good you will be? Basketball is not a game that takes you. It's not a game that's going to take you 10 years to be good. If you are focused on basketball, within 3 years, you'll be really good. So for us, with this tournament, we are hoping to inspire younger kids, to fall in love with this game, to start playing it, and get to a point whereby we can have under 12 basketball national team, under 14, under 16, under 18. And I'm really talking about real under 18. I'm not talking about bringing 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds and calling them under 18. That's something that we really need to get away from.
Yes.
We need to. Cheating is going to take us anywhere.
Yeah. And it kills our reputation too, because now you hear all the Americans saying, these guys are 25 or
exactly.
Exactly.
And to me, I'm not blaming the players. The players are doing anything possible, just to be able to, play. You know what I mean? We have to build a system whereby, we start these kids at the age of 5 or 6. The moment they start school, introduce them to the game of basketball. GBA has to be going to all these schools, talking to these PE teachers, and introducing the game to all the schools.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Very important.
If we have the funding, we start repairing all these basketball courts, and if we have a lot of funding, we can start building basketball courts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really important that you talked about all of this stuff, because these are, issues that need to be addressed. And I'm glad that you, talk about this, took your time being here. I hope that, our listeners understand the passion that you have for the growth of the game of basketball in the Gambia and in Africa. And then, just see that you're just passionate, you're just, enthusiastic about seeing people like me becoming, a better version. And then people, especially home-based players. We're really thankful that, we had these conversations. We have you here. today's conversation is really about, resilience, about opportunities. It's about the stories behind people that, have contributed to the growth of basketball, especially you
Mhm.
team, and the people that didn't have the chance to meet me or some of the players in the Gambia like Modou Sarr, but his legacy is being, lived on by your team and, we that participated in this tournament. So thank you so much. We're really excited that you are here, and then we're hoping to have you more. Definitely, the team would definitely create another opportunity to have you here, and then just
Yes,
keep
sir.
you in the loop so that we can just have these conversations. I know there's a lot of stories, ideas that you want to talk about, and then the time is so limited. But thank you for having for being here, and then we're really great that you're here.
Hey
Yeah.
man, it was good hanging out with you guys, man. You guys are awesome. I've been following the podcast for so long now. I've almost listened to every single episode you guys have done.
That's what's up.
So
Thanks, man. It really means a lot. The biggest thing for us is we just want to have impact. And when we connect with other folks that can make an impact like yourself, it's upward trajectory from here.